Меня зовут Гриша Rasputin. Я говорю немножко по-русски чуть-чуть. Так, but I'm going to speak English. So, for the most part, I started my interest in outside the country was back in college. I had a couple extra credits to take up, and I thought, all right, I want to learn all about Russia, so I did that. And this occurred back in 1996, just to give you an idea of where the time frame. So I went ahead and took some classes and thought, this is great, 2 semesters, my Russian is great, and by the end of a couple semesters, the Fulbright scholars had come on over to Russia, and I said, absolutely, I'm going to go see Azerbaijan and check out all of Russia, not knowing that wasn't the central of the country. So I went ahead and flew over with Aeroflot and had great food and all this, and no more than landed in Moscow, and I was kind of half awake, and I'm looking outside the windows, and I'm seeing all these men walking around the plane, and I'm seeing like guns and Uzis, and I started to panic, and I thought, oh boy, am I going to be hijacked or something? No, don't worry. They're just protecting the Americans, and I was freaked out, not seeing guns at the airport ever. And we proceeded through the visa checkpoints and continued on, and we were met by 3 people: a driver, a gentleman and his wife, and I was traveling with one of the Fulbright scholars, and the lady had 6 giant square luggages. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, wow, there's 5 of us. And they pull up in a car, if I remember correctly, it was a Jubilee. And the guy spent 20 minutes packing all this stuff up on there.
What year was it?
1996. And I'm in the back of the Jubilee, pressed up against the window, with all the luggage on top. 20 minutes later, we're ready to go for our 4-hour drive in the car. I thought, I'm never going to make it. We no more than pull out of the airport, and we drove maybe a kilometer, and I could see out of the corner of my eye, the guy pulls over, and the cars are going by, and I go, what's going on here? And I see a knife come out, and I thought, my heart's thumping. I thought, oh, what's going to go on here? Is something going to happen? And then I see out the corner of my eye, like tomatoes and cucumbers, and I'm like, what? And the guy opens the door, and there's little glasses, and he's pouring vodka on the top of the car, and he says, welcome. I'm like, what? We're doing this on the side of the road. That was my welcome to the country. It's amazing. So while I was there, and I'm just going to share some of these stories, but one of the things I discovered right away was the food was different right off the bat. And so I'm so used to eating hamburgers and pizza, and I had everything but that, which was great, right? I mean, I had things like, I remember they filled my plate, and they handed me a plate, and I had to be so kind to eat everything, but there was something bright red. Oh no, I'm thinking of my grandma's beets, and I'm like, I can't eat that. I said, give me a couple shots, and I was eating everything, and I got to this red stuff, and I thought, how am I going to eat this? How am I going to eat this? And I took a bite, and to my delight, I'm like, this is wonderful. This is like potato salad with red stuff. So it became my favorite dish, vinegar. I can eat that everywhere. So my quest for food and pizza, I really had a hard time. I missed pizza. But I could find that we went to the market and found all kinds of things. And I realized that people could make me bread. And I happened to come across some what I thought was ketchup. And I realized that's not ketchup, that's pizza sauce. So I put together some bread and pizza sauce, and I put that, what's that stuff called? Sasiski. And I put it into the oven and cooked it and shared it with all the kids, and they just loved it. And unbeknownst to me, that for the next months. Well, I was there for months. Everybody, there were parents coming to the door with this big basket of ingredients wanting me to make pizza for their kids, and I was like the pizza maker. The unfortunate thing is I missed my opportunity. It turns out that people make billions of dollars making pizza. I was just doing it because I wanted it. Just a couple other things here. Good? I still speak for a minute?
Okay. I love this part of the show.
So I'm going to talk about the other thing, and I bet if I looked around here, there are glasses with no ice. It was very common to me over in Russia. They didn't use ice. So it was so hot there. It was probably 40 degrees Celsius. I'm walking around. I'm like, I need something cold. Holodnaya. And I was walking to the kiosk. I said, "You have holodnaya? Holodnaya vadu?" And the guy, no. I found somebody. And it was an old babushka that says, yeah, I have cold. I'm like giving her money. I just like my water. And I see all the water sitting in the light of the sun. And she reaches down to the floor and hands me the water. I'm like, that's not holodnaya. She goes, yes, it is. She was trying to argue and say it was cold. It was on the floor. It's not in the sun. This doesn't look the same. And upon that, my other question was I wanted ice cream. I was dying for ice cream, so I'm walking around looking for morozhnoye, and I found ice cream. I'm like, yes, so I bought it, and I'm sharing with all kinds of kids. Here come the parents. They're so angry and stern. They go, you can't do that. And I go, oh, what? And they said, you cannot give the kids ice cream. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I said, do they have an allergy? They said, no. I said, it's so cold, it'll make them sick in their throat. And I'm like, it's 40 degrees Celsius. I'll kind of end with, I have many stories, but there was another one, and I'll tell you this one about mushroom picking. I went out mushroom picking. We don't do it here in the U.S., and they give me a big basket, and I was all scared about going mushroom picking. And the reality is, I don't know a mushroom from a non-mushroom. And they said, go ahead, just pick everything. So I picked like crazy. My basket was like half full, and they called me over, and they said, you can't, we have to leave. There's no mushrooms here. I'm like, what do you mean? I got a whole basket. And they started pulling them out. They go, poison. They said, all this stuff is poison. We know how to get rid of the Americans. Let's take you mushroom picking. Pick every single one. Otherwise, thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.